You in this battle, man, I'll soon be dead. I'll glue your face to my dick so I can fuck with your head. I got metaphors coming through my pores. You probably never been in a battle before, so I hope you realize your mistake. There ain't no party, got some candles, this won't be a piece of cake.
All right, folks, welcome to the Before Hours podcast, an internet radio phenomenon hosted by an occasional morning person. I ask the most interesting people I know about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, and setbacks, and whatever else comes to mind. If you want to talk to us, you could write to us at the Before Hours podcast at gmail.com. Tell us about your morning routine, and I'll read it on the air. But for now, we have comedian, great guy, a Pluto fan. He does it all, dude. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan Erwin. How are you, Ryan?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
I am doing decently average, dude. We both got here at the same time.
We did. We walked
Meetings
up.
of the mind, dude. And you're just a cool guy. You're wearing a vest. You're wearing a backwards hat. I think we're going to have a nice time.
Thank you. Go Jazz. I know we're not having a great season, nor do we have a great roster, but I'm from Utah, and I love the Jazz.
You're from Utah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Born
it
and
okay
raised.
that I drank coffee before I came?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do not care. I'm a homosexual.
Woo!
We're over that part.
Hell yeah. Yes. For those that didn't catch the reference, Mormons can't drink coffee.
They can't.
So, but as you said, you're a homosexual.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, did you have your first cup of coffee?
I have never had a cup of... I left Mormonism 10 years ago, and I still haven't tried coffee.
That's wild.
I love the smell, but I am easily addicted to things.
Okay.
Like if I find something I like love it to death, and I will eat it or drink it or do it every day. So I don't want to start that trend.
Oh, that's really smart, actually.
Yeah. So like, I'm just like, and also when I left Mormonism, all of my friends were still Mormon. So like I didn't like go drinking or whatever, but like over time I now have friends who are heathens and don't love God. And so
Many of our listeners.
yes, thank you. Yeah, I've had one iced coffee, did not like it. I do like chai teas. I don't know if that's against because Mormons have this gray area where it's like you're not supposed to have any teas, but like I don't know like what that means. And like I was a Mormon missionary. Like herbal tea, is that fine? Black tea, green tea, no idea.
Well, black tea starting in 1978.
What do you mean? Oh, when the blacks. I shouldn't say that's a Mormon thing. It's literally been so hard for me, like when black people, because it literally like growing up is like, oh, when the blacks got, and I was like growing up, I'm like that's normal, and then now that I like I'm Mormon, I was like that is a weird vernacular thing to say, and I've been trying to catch myself when I explain Mormonism and people, I'm like, oh yeah, when everyone, regardless of skin color, was able to hold the priesthood. Like it just slips out because like that's how everyone spoke about it in my world, and so it's so. And I'm like, I hear it as I say, I'm like, that's racist, and like I'm like trying to constantly like improve and like not say that because that's not that's not. It's just not good. Yeah.
It's crazy how linguistic works, because if you say black people, that's fine. Blacks, iffy. The blacks.
The.
Whoa.
It's just like gay. Gay people, the gays. It's like, it's not, I'm not trying to compare the apples to oranges, but like, I'm just like, when you put the in front of it, for whatever reason, it like, oh, the women of the room. And you're like, oh, that just feels gross. Like, you know, but when you say the Ohio State, you're like, oh, that's good.
That's how you're supposed to say it.
But when you say the in front of like a group of people, it's instantly bad.
But if it's the blacks of Ohio State, then it gets real confusing. So I know about soaking.
Okay, listen, that's not real. It is not. It is an internet trend that a lot of Mormon Gen Z kids have co-opted to gaslight the world. Soaking is not real.
Okay, so we should explain what soaking is for people that have never heard it. So soaking is apparently a myth, and it's the idea of that premarital sex is bad in Mormonism.
Yes.
But if you just put it in and don't move, you're all good.
The premise is it's the thrust that's the sin.
The thrust is the sin.
Not the entrance, which is wrong, and any Mormon will disagree with that. Like it will agree with what I'm saying. And so what a lot of people, what you see on the TikTok is girls will be like, I was under my friend's bed while they were soaking and I moved the bed. Lies.
So the Mormons are trolling us.
100%.
Oh my God.
It is gaslighting to a T. First of all, it was a lie made up about Mormons. And then a lot of like Mormon teens, like Gen Zers were kind of like, oh yeah, soaking. Like I was in college when people were talking about stuff like that, and like literally like everyone's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, and like all my friends who are like super Mormon were like, no, if I've put the penis inside, I'm moving it around.
I mean, that is like, a level of, if anyone ever actually did soak, that's a level of self-control.
No, I just think it's absolute moronic activity. Like what, God's a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Like if you don't move, I don't see you. Like what is this? Like it's absolutely asinine. And the fact that it keeps like coming up on TikTok, I'm like, honestly, it has. I assume there was like some like Mormon teens that were like, oh yeah, like they took that lie that was told about them and they like fed the fire to the fuel, and people are like, oh my gosh, it is real. And maybe someone somewhere did it, but the fact that this is like an epidemic or a thing that is happening, no. It's not real.
It's not real, folks. The reason I brought it up is because I was gonna ask, because soaking is like, before I realized it wasn't real, is that it's like you're beating the system. So Mormons can't drink coffee. Is there a way they beat the system?
One of my friend's moms didn't know a McCafe was coffee, so she had a McCafe for years.
McDonald's?
Yeah. She thought a McCafe was like a hot chocolate. And it was literally like her, like she was like my age, like she was in high school, and she was like, Mom, like why do you get a McCafe? Like I thought we weren't supposed to have it because of the word of wisdom, which is what they call that's what, like you can't drink, like you can't smoke. It's called the word of wisdom. It's the health code of conduct for Mormons. Okay. It's called the word of wisdom. So she's like, Mom, the word of wisdom says we can have coffee. She goes, this isn't coffee. And she goes, Mom, it is. And she was like, what? For like 20 years, my friend's mom had been having coffee. And she loves coffee. And I had no idea. She only got it at McDonald's, so she thought it was like a special McDonald's drink.
Oh my God.
I was dying when she told me that. I was like, are you serious? And I was like, your mom. I loved her mom.
Now, is caffeine at the level of alcohol in terms of sinfulness?
So that is where, because that's the gray area that a lot of Mormons argue about, is the point of the word of wisdom is you're not supposed to have any addictive substances. And I know a lot of Mormons who are like, no coffee, no alcohol, no wine, like no smoking, whatever. But I have to have 8 Diet Cokes today.
Diet Coke. But Diet Coke's caffeine.
Yeah. So there's the thing. A lot of Mormons, I think, like, feel better. Like, well, I'm obeying the word of wisdom. I'm following the health code of conduct. But I will have a Dr. Pepper before and after every meal. Like, and it's like, okay, which is like fine. Like, I genuinely don't care. Like, you do you. But it's interesting because like there's a lot of Mormons who are like, caffeine is bad. So like, it's like a hard no. And then there are some people who are like, as long as you have it like sparingly. And there are some people who are like, it doesn't explicitly state that Coke Zero is against the word of wisdom. I will keep drinking it. So that's the part. Like, I actually don't drink pop, but that's a personal choice. Like my whole family, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper. Like my sister has to, like, she loves her Diet Coke. Like it's one of her, she's like, it's one of my simple joys. Don't take it from me. But like, I just don't like it. I don't like carbonation. So like I'll rarely have like even like a Sprite or whatever. I just don't like the physics. I'm like, I'll have a lemonade. Like I'll have chocolate milk. Like even like 30 years old. I'm like, do we have a strawberry lemonade at a bar? I'm like, just because I don't care much for carbonation. And it's not like, oh, like I'm this health fitness guru. Like I'm 320 pounds. Like it's not, I'm not over here being like, I'm way healthier than everyone else. It's like, I just don't like it. But everyone else in my family who's Mormon is, and so the caffeine's like the gray area where, you know, most Mormons will just drink it and not think twice about it.
And do you drink alcohol?
Very sparingly. I am not a fun drunk. And I am so cheap that I'm like, this drink, especially in New York, I'm like, this drink is $15.
Yeah.
I can get 2 containers of orange juice and a little thing of Yoo-hoo for that chocolate milk drink. It's not chocolate milk, chocolate drink. for the same price.
You're just in the back of the bar, just making your
double fisting orange juice, no pulp. This one with pineapple. This one with like no. I will drink sparingly. And like when I do drink, first of all, I'm already like loads of fun without alcohol. Then when I do drink, it's like a very short window where I'm just yelly, and then I crash after about 30 minutes.
Oh, you get sleepy.
Yeah, I am not a fun drunk. Like I would only drink when I was living in Utah at my house. So my roommate would throw parties, and that's when the only time I drink, because I'm like, my bed's right here. Because I get really sleepy. I'm like, if I'm out, there's not enough time for me to get home before I crash. And so I'll like we'd play games, and I would just like yell the rules at someone after like 20 minutes. Like in the middle of the game, I would just like leave and just go to my room and fall asleep. So I'm not a fun drunk. I'll try a drink every now and then, but like I just don't care for it. And like at this point, because I went so long without it, like I didn't drink in high school, I didn't drink in college, like now I'm like, it's just an expensive habit. And I kind of hate that as an American society, like everything revolves around alcohol and drinking, and like, let's go to the bar. And I'm like, but why? I was like, they're like, well, we can like chat and hang out. I'm like, we can do that at your house. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I struggled like with like when I moved from Utah to North Carolina, I went with a friend group. We did like a weekend trip to go see a Carolina Panthers game. And so like we got an Airbnb, and like they're like we're gonna go like brewery hopping, and I was like, oh my god, this is like my literal nightmare, because it's just like everyone would like get a drink and then just talk, and I was like, why aren't we like doing something? Like for me, like I just don't get the culture around drinking. So yeah, no, I don't really drink that much. I think wine is disgusting.
Wine is gross.
I call it grape diarrhea. It is just, there is nothing appealing about that. People are like, hints of, I was like, I don't want a hint. I want it to tell me what it is. Like, this is orange juice. This is chocolate drink. Like, whatever that means. Like, I don't get it. Like a rum drink every now and then I like a fruity drink, shocker. But like, I just don't care.
Nice.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I used to drink. I'm sober now, so
good for you.
I'm jealous that your relationship to alcohol is you get sleepy and go to bed, because I think that's the best, because then you don't get into any trouble. So because I would be like invigorated by alcohol, and that's bad. Yeah, that's bad. If you have lots of energy while also your decision making abilities go down, that's bad. So I'm very jealous.
Well, the thing is, like, congratulations on being sober, but whenever I tell people, because like it's weird to have this whole conversation when someone's like, do you want a drink? And so I started saying, no, I'm sober.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because it was easy to make, I don't drink, and they're like, oh, why? I was like, well, I was raised Mormon, but I don't believe it anymore. And like going through my whole like lineage and heritage. So then I just go, oh, I'm sober, and someone's like, oh, how long? And I was like, 32 years. And they're like, wait, what? And then I'm like, great, now I just look like an idiot on top of a liar, and then I still have to explain my whole lineage of, well, I was raised Mormon. Like, it's just, I've tried telling the lie that I'm sober, just so like people wouldn't talk to me about it or tempt me with alcohol, because like people all the time, I'm like, oh, I don't drink. They're like, yeah, but how about? I'm like, literally no, like, don't.
It's weird. It's the only because if someone's like, you want a cigarette, and you're like, I don't smoke, they're like,
okay,
never.
Yeah,
you
never. I've never tried marijuana. No.
Whoa.
Here's the thing. I actually like my life. I know that sounds like a flex on everyone. But like I had roommates that were just like, don't you want to feel great all the time? I was like, I generally do.
Yeah, you're having a nice time.
I'm like, yeah, I deal with depression. Yeah, I have like ADHD. And so like I get hyper fixated on things, and then I feel disappointed when I don't complete them or whatever. I put off other tasks, and like, you know, like I'm working with a therapist because I'm the triple threat: anxiety, depression, and ADHD. We love that for me.
That's the new Holy Trinity.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago when I was like, I think I have ADHD. And I was like, I don't think that's the only thing you have. I was like, there's more. Like, are you Billy Mays right now? Like, but wait, there's more. Like when you don't complete your tasks, you feel anxious about them, and then when you don't complete your anxiety list, then you get depressed about it. I'm like, great, we love that for me. But like generally, like I've been working on like coping skills and everything. So like I don't know. I don't have any interest in doing drugs. I've never tried a singular drug, not a cigarette, not a pot leaf, or however, I don't know what it's called. What is it? A hop? Nope, that's beer. Like I literally, what is it when you call like a little bit of marijuana? What is it? I genuinely don't know.
Well, like a bag is like a dime bag.
No, but like what? I don't know how to ask what I'm asking because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Connor, do you know what he's asking?
No, I don't know. I like a small amount. What's a
bud?
A bud.
Yeah,
that's the word I was searching
we did
for. Yeah. Never. I don't know.
Dude, a pot. If I'm sure some people listening are high right now. I smoked a lot of pot as a teenager, but then someone gave me alcohol, and I was like, "This is where it's at."
Oh, I did have a pot brownie in college. I didn't know. I was 18. I was still Mormon.
It was like your version of a McCafe.
Well, yes, but I didn't know it was a pot brownie. My friend she's like, I made my special brownies, and apparently everyone else caught on to context clues but me because I'm from a small town in Utah and didn't know any better. I didn't know what pot was. Like I genuinely like drug education was non-existent. It was don't do it, but I was like, don't do literally what? Like I don't know what I'm saying no to. And so I had a brownie. I was like, oh my gosh, these are great. And I was kind of like loopy all day, and like everyone was laughing at me, and I ate more than one brownie because I just like when no one was looking, I was like, I don't want to be like the fat pig who like eats the whole plate of brownies, but like they're good. So I take that back. I did have pot once, and I realized it after the fact, like years later. I was like, special brownies. Oh my gosh, that's why I was a trip at that party. But ever since then, I just don't have a lot of incentive to go do the drugs.
So here's what
drugs,
the drugs with with
the alcohol and the sin.
So guys, what I'm learning from this is be raised Mormon, but then leave. Those two things together.
Honestly, like as much as like I like far all over my upbringing sometimes when I'm like, ugh, I'm really glad I was raised the way I was. Like I was in a small town. Like I'm still friends with almost everyone from my childhood friend group. Like my neighbor across the street, Christina's my best friend. I tried calling her last night, but this is okay. It's a thing we do where I try calling her forever and ever. And then like 3 weeks later, she goes, hey, babe. I'm like, hey, babe, sorry. And she goes, why are you apologizing? I was like, I don't know. It's just what I do. And then we catch up and we talk for hours. And like when I go back home to visit, I go visit my elementary school friend group and we get together. Like, so like I have like, because we're from a small town, like most of them married within the friend group or whatever. So like we're still like all connected. I loved that. I actually loved being raised in a small town because like we would go on adventures. Like I didn't realize till later, like, when people would go on hikes, they would walk on trails. We would just go up the face of the mountain. Like we tried going on one of the hikes later in our 20s, and we're like, we rock climbed up that like free, like no gear, like a 40-foot face, like minimal handholds, and we're like, I think we can do it. And we're like 12. I was like it was very like, I know I'm like glorifying it now, but like we would like in high school, we did Foursquare tournaments outside our high school during a lunch break. Like, I don't know. I loved being raised in a small town. I'm glad I'm out of it, but like, honestly, like it was just like a simple life. Like we were an hour away from Salt Lake, the big city, but then a half hour from Ogden and Logan, which had malls or whatever. But like, it was just kind of nice to just like have that upbringing. And like we didn't go drinking. Like no one in my friend group had sex in high school, not one of us.
Me too, but for a different reason.
So like there was never that temptation. Like when we would go to hang out, we would literally just like go watch a movie, go play card games, go play night games or whatever. And like we were just like, I didn't have to deal with like being hungover at 16. I didn't have to deal with sneaking drugs around. Like we like, it was like the most bad thing we did was we trespassed.
You were trespassing?
Oh, I was a trespasser.
You weren't drinking Diet Cokes while you were doing it, were you?
No, I wasn't because I don't like soda pop. So no, I don't know. I liked it. It was nice. I mean, yeah, the church thing and, you know, the guilt and, you know, hating yourself for years because you don't know how to rationalize things. But like other than that, it was pretty ideal. Like if you're straight, like get raised in a small town. I think it's great.
All right. So if you guys are thinking about having a kid, make sure that kid is straight and then you'll have a nice time.
We love.
Nice.
We live, we laugh.
So you're hanging out with your childhood friends who are all still Mormon. It's not a problem that you're gay?
No. Like a lot of them, okay, I shouldn't say actually, most of them didn't know, which a lot of the people outside of our friend groups were like, how did you not know? They're like, well, Brian was just Ryan. Like, Like both my parents are deaf. So I talk with my hands a lot. I was also a theater kid, so I was very expressive. And everyone's like, oh, but those all make sense now. Because I was very like, I was fairly flamboyant in high school. But like everyone just thought it was like flamboyant, but in a fun way, not a sinful way.
Okay.
So like it was like I was on student council all 4 years. Like I was in the elite choirs. I was the lead, one of the leads in the musical. Like, you know, but like I was also like, because I'm a huge 6'5" guy, like I played sports and like I was the manager of the girls basketball team and like I played on the football team. Like, you know, like I was just like, you know, the all-American, all-around golden boy or whatever. But like all of my town's golden boys are gay.
Oh yeah.
Like you look back there, I'm like, because I was awarded the most outstanding boy of my high school class, and like
which sounds gay.
So gay. And like my name is inscribed like on like over the front office where it has like they have 4 big awards. So like the male student athlete, then outstanding woman, outstanding girl, outstanding boy, and then they have the civic improvement. It's another girl award that's given by like the local Rotary Club, but for women. What's that called? I don't know. Rotary's not just for men, is it?
I don't think so.
I have no idea. There's a civic improvement club. That's what they're called, the civic, because it's a civic young woman award. Anyway, so they give the big 4 at our school anyway. So they have all their names. So my name's enshrined walking into the main office. Every time I go back, I'm like,
That's going to make them reconsider their stance on homosexuality. Is all the cool people are
look
gay.
at all these award-winning gays.
Yeah.
But where was I going with that? Oh, they're cool with it. Yeah, like it was definitely like dicey. Like I told my best friend Christina when we were in high school on our senior musical theater trip to Disneyland. Who saw that coming? And she really didn't know how to respond. I will say this, she is my #1 ally, so no hate to her. But she did when I was like, Christina, I think I'm gay. And she was like, have you ever read the Book of Mormon? Which is one of my favorite jokes I do on stage because it's 100% true. Like I love sharing that story on stage. And then we didn't talk about it for 4 years. And I went on a Mormon mission. And then when I came home, I was like, I can't do this. And I started coming out to people. So yeah, like it was just like, it was hard because like we weren't taught how to deal with what happens when your friend not only is gay, but what happens when your friend leaves the church. Like they don't talk about that. Like we're encouraged, like have our friends be Mormon. Like you can have friends who aren't Mormon, like, but you can also invite them to church activities. You can invite them to Sunday school. Like you can invite them to seminary. Like whole thing is like, yeah, you can have Mormon friends, but like invite them to be Mormon. Like why not? And so it was tricky. Some of them were like, okay, cool. Like I still love you. I'm so sorry you had to like go through that and like those sort of feelings of being disappointed or like hurt or confused or scared, but like I love you no matter what. And like one of my guy friends, when I came out to him, I came out to like a group of them at the same time, and he was just like, hey, like I just want to apologize. I know I'm probably the most homophobic one here, so if I've said anything that you felt has been directly like personally targeted to you, I'm sorry for that, and I value you as a friend, and I don't want that to come between us. And I was like, no worries, thank you. And like he like went to go, like we were hanging out and he went to go grab something, and his wife was like, I love my husband so much. She's like, she's like, I didn't know what he was gonna say. So because you know he has said quite a few homophobic things, and so that made me really happy. And so I was like, yeah, like, and to this day he's been a very supportive ally. Like so it's just like, but we didn't know how to process, so I didn't know how to come out, they didn't know how to receive it. So like there were some like awkward conversations, but like it's been 10 years, so like they're all pretty chill with it.
Now, this might be a silly question. Is coming out and leaving the church related?
For me, I intertwined them. Most gay Mormons are 2 separate paths, like 2 separate experiences. So what happened to a lot of gays in the Mormon church, the gays, is that they will come out. So I came out 3 times to my parents. I told them that.
Once for every person in the Trinity.
No.
Do Mormons have the Trinity?
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, but like it's like we do. So like there's okay, I lied. I said no just instinctually.
Well, I do this thing where I think every like Catholic thing is things that all Christians believe.
They're not so like there is God, there is the Son, there's the Holy Ghost. They are 3 separate entities. They are not one and the same. So is that what the Trinity means?
Oh.
The Trinity means like they're 3 in 1?
3 in 1, but they are the same.
No, in Mormon church, in the Mormon belief, they're all separate individuals. So like Jesus is the literal Son of God. and then the Holy Spirit is a separate.
But Jesus is also God.
In the Old Testament, he is when the Old Testament talks about God, they're prophesying of him like he is a God, but he's the Son of God.
Okay.
Does that make sense in the Mormon Church?
Yeah. It's just I didn't realize how different it was.
So like God is the creator, and he made Jesus his son, and he made him a God.
Whoa.
And sent him to earth because it took a God to atone for all of mankind's sins that no human being would ever be able to encapsulate that. But he is half human because of his mother. And so that he could experience things.
Half human.
Yeah. So like when Mary was pregnant, the father was God. So he is half God. The mother was human. So he's.
Okay. Because I was raised Catholic and Jesus is all God and all human at the same time.
I guess because the 50-50 thing, like there's no like, well, this kneecap is God, this kneecap is human. Like I'm sure it's like a mix, like when you mix a chocolate drink for you, when you mix it all together.
This is you doing your missionary work. You get the orange juice, you get the
God and Jesus now one combined drink up. No. So they're two entirely separate entities, and so that's why I'm like, because my understanding of Catholic Trinity is they are all one and the same. They are three separate personages. Because
you have the 3-leaf clover. It's one plant, but 3 cloves. That's how St. Patrick's turned the Irish into Christians.
Okay.
Isn't that weird? You could just do that back then.
Just be like, here's a plant. I'm Christian now.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So where was I?
Because I asked if you coming out and leaving the church was one.
Oh yeah, it's separate. So what a lot of Mormons will do is what my experience is, I wouldn't say pretty similar because everyone's is unique, everyone is special. Okay, there's a lot of people who are like, my path is so different. I was like, a lot of ours are the same. Like, I'm sorry, like coming out and growing up Mormon, we have a lot of similarities. So I told my parents that I'm gay, but I'm still Mormon, and I'm not going to act on it because there's a lot of gay Mormons who just stay closeted, who marry, to a woman, have kids, live their Mormon life, and don't ever act on it. So I told my parents, I'm like, I'm gay, but I'm never going to act on it. And then it's like, hey, I'm gay and I stopped going to church. And they're like, oh gosh. And then I was like, hey, I'm gay and I've started dating men. So like I had to come out at like 3 different times. But like what a lot of Mormons will do is they'll come out and they'll try and make it work. They'll be like, I'm gay, but I know God loves me. And through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, I can be purified and I can like do all the right things and I can still be a good person and still like, I know I went on so many dates with Mormon men who are like, I believe I'm going to get married in the temple, which is where you have to like follow all of like the Mormon teachings to a T. And spoiler alert, you cannot marry someone of the same sex in a Mormon temple. But there are a lot of Mormons who go, I know God will have a revelation soon that will allow me because I'm faithful, I'm gay, it's not a choice. So like I'm just living as God made me. And if I'm obedient to all his other commandments, things will happen the way they're supposed to. And there's a lot of gay Mormons who go, I'm gay, but I'm going to marry a woman and just like try my best to ignore it. And there are people who are like, I'm gay and I'm going to be celibate and I'm going to stay Mormon, but I'm just never going to date, never going to marry and just be Mormon. And then there are gays who are like, I'm going to date men, but only Mormon men because I want to get married and raise my kids in the church and I want to be Mormon forever. And then there are gays who start that, realize, oh, this will never work, and then leave. So for a lot of Mormons, gay Mormons, they come out before they leave the church. And mine, I went years going to church and like praying and being like, Heavenly Father, please forgive me for thinking the boy coming out of the business building on Tuesday was cute. Like I thought that was a sin, so I was repenting of it. And then I still was gay. And like, I could never rationalize how so many Mormons could think that they could be Mormon and gay. Because for me, I'm like, no, it's wrong. Like you can't do both. And then I got to a point where it's like, listen, I didn't choose to be gay, but I can choose to be Mormon. And so I'm choosing to leave. And so for me, it was all in once. Like I came out to my bishop, pastor, ecclesiastical leader for whatever denomination. And then I told him I was gay, and I walked away from the church. And then within the next few months, I started coming out to my friends. So for me, my stories were intertwined, but for a lot of gay Mormons, they are two separate chapters. Or they're like the same chapter, but it starts off with, I'm just coming out of the closet. And then the chapter ends with, I have now left the church. Like most of them end up leaving. And there's this big push to stay. Like the church, even like 10 years ago, the church, that's what we call it. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the Mormon church's full name. But if you're a member of the church, you just call it the church.
Ooh.
So they came out like in like 2012, 2013 with a thing called gaysandmormons.org. So they had the whole I'm a Mormon campaign in conjunction with the Book of Mormon, the musical. And then they were noticing a trend of a lot of, gay people leaving the church because they're gay and the church doesn't like that. So then they started this whole campaign with basically gay Mormons who haven't left and like celebrating their story, but a lot of them have since left. I was like, this is awkward. Yeah, like there was a lot of like famous gays who are like, I'm gay, but I'm married to a woman and we're making it work. There's a whole TLC special on it.
Dude, imagine being that woman.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Some of them just don't tell their spouse ever. Like they just keep it.
That's the way to go. I mean, if you are going to, it seems much more awkward every time you're fucking. Like, hey, I don't like this. I mean, I'm sure that's a lot of married people's experience anyway.
I mean, I was like, but I don't know what's the more ethical solution. But like there are some men who are like, yeah, I never told my spouse, or some people are like, I told my spouse and we're making it work. And I was like, that's so unfortunate for her. Unless there are people I've known of other couples who are both gay, like lesbian woman, gay man, and they get married because they want to do the right thing and they just make it work.
And they just bond over how gross sex is.
So I don't know. It's such a tricky situation. I have learned I don't disparage. I try not to disparage church. I hope nothing that I've said today makes people feel like I'm like anti-Mormon, because literally every single member of my family is Mormon. Almost every single member of my childhood friend group is Mormon. I was a teacher in Utah, so almost every student and every coworker had like, if I hated Mormons, I would have left Utah years ago and I'd be very resentful. And I don't. I just went, not for me. I don't get how gay Mormons stay in the church, but honestly, you do you, boo. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But like, I hope nothing that I've said comes across as that I just don't get it. Like, if I was straight, I'd totally get staying Mormon. Like, I don't blame my friends or family. I'm like, no, I get it. Like, it's a pretty good setup. But like, for me, I'm like, this is a terrible setup.
Yeah.
Like, I do not benefit from this. So yeah, like, I try not to like be super negative about them, or like if people talk about like my mission experience, which was a long 2 years and I did hate. And I was very vocal even when I was a Mormon. When I came home from my mission, I was like, I hated it. And everyone's like, what? Because it's supposed to be the greatest 2 years of your life. Like, it's supposed to be like this transformative life. I went, going on my mission helped prepare me to leave the church.
Wow.
Like 100%. I would not have had the strength to walk away because I walked away while I was in college, where all of my friends were still Mormon and all of my family was still Mormon. And I walked away not knowing, I didn't know ex-Mormons, really. I didn't know gay ex-Mormons. So like, I had no clue what the path was, but I knew after 2 years of doing what other people told me to do and being absolutely miserable, I was like, I can't do this. I have to do my own thing. And so honestly, going on my mission helped me leave the church, which is like backwards, because it's supposed to like affirm your testimony and make you a lifelong member. But I was like about a year after my mission, I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, I tried.
What is a mission?
So, like the white shirts and the name tags, they go out for 2 years. So you don't get to pick where you go. You submit your papers and then they assign you somewhere to go. So I got assigned to Uruguay.
Every Mormon does this.
Well, every Mormon man is supposed to.
Okay. It's
and
like
Mormon,
the draft.
yes, and Mormon women are it's left up to their decision.
Okay.
So because Mormon hold the priesthood, it's considered a priesthood responsibility to go on a mission.
Okay.
And so you're supposed to go if you're a boy, and girls have the options. It used to be boys could go at 19 and up until they were 26. So that was your window. And it was a 2-year mission. Girls had to wait until they were 21 because they're supposed to get married off and have kids. But if you don't get married by 21, which when you're outside of Utah sounds like an insane statement, but most, I wouldn't say most, a very large percentage of Mormon girls are married before 21.
Wow.
And so it's like, if you're not married by 21, then you go on an 18-month mission. So it's slightly shorter, but you know, then you get paired up when you, so like I got assigned to Uruguay. My mission president, who was over my mission, assigned me a companion. We went to the city. We lived there for several weeks. And then he like switched us around like, hey, you got a new companion. You go to this city. And 2 years just trying to baptize people to be Mormon.
Yeah. So what is that like? You go to Uruguay, which is in South America. I'm saying that for your benefit.
Oh, yeah. ¿Dónde está Uruguay? No sé. No sé.
¿Hablas español?
Sí.
Ooh, fluently?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's been a decade, but like, I still try and keep it up.
That's
like,
awesome.
I listen to stuff in Spanish.
So you speak 3 languages.
I'm trilingual, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm better than you.
I believe it.
Yeah, English, Spanish, and sign language.
Hell yeah.
And then I can do a little bit of Portuguese because I was on the border between Brazil, and what people would do is called Portuñol, or Portuguese and Espanol. They would mix it together. So like they would speak to us in that to deliberately confuse us if they didn't like us, because they'd be like, oh, so like I learned a lot of things that I thought were Spanish words, and then when I got transferred to an area more in the center of Argentina, in Uruguay, I started in Argentina. That's where I learned Spanish for a few months, and then they sent me off to Uruguay. But when I got moved to a different area, I'd be like saying things and they're like, why are you speaking to us in Portuguese? I was like, what? Like, fresa is strawberry, but in Portuguese, it's morango. Everything was labeled morango in my first area because it's on the border. So everyone speaks Portuguese and Spanish.
Oh, I see.
So that sort of cookie company came from Brazil. So I was like, morango is strawberry. So then I go somewhere else. I was like, oh, do you have morangos? And they're like, what? I was like, strawberry? And like, man, be like, fresa? And I was like, oh gosh. So like, there was a lot of things I didn't like. I can get by in Portuguese. I can say, eu não falo muito bem, which is, I don't speak Portuguese very well.
Oh, okay.
And I can say that really good.
Yeah.
Because I had to say that all the time. But yeah, no, I learned Spanish and learned a new culture. Like, it was a lot. I was miserable. But I did my best.
Now, so the purpose of a mission is to try to get as many people as you can to convert to Mormonism.
Yes. So the purpose, as the church states, is to invite all others to come unto Christ. And we do that by baptism or whatever. In my mission, it was you baptize as many people as you can. So like, that's the hard part for my mission is like, I was going as like a spiritual experience. Like, I'm here to serve. I'm here to help anyone in any way possible. I'm here to better their lives. And that was my thought process because that's what I was told a mission is. And then I got out to my mission in particular, and speaking with other friends who went on missions, my mission was different because my mission president was like, you were supposed to baptize at least one person a week. Go. Which was a lot to unpack. And because there's so much to get into, explain why he came to that thought process. But basically, we have this book and it's for our missionary handbook. And like every day you're supposed to track numbers. So like, how many lessons did you teach? Like, how many people did you talk to? Like how many, like just like data to prove that you're working. So you're supposed to set goals. Like, if I want to teach 3 lessons, what do I need to do to teach 3 lessons? I have to talk to as many people. I have to stop. Like, I have to ask Mormons, other members, be like, hey, do you have a friend who would like to hear a lesson? Like, so like, it's things like that. And on the little checklist was baptism. So my mission president went, well, if there's a box there, why would God ever give us a box and have our goal be 0? So our goal should be 1 at minimum. So if God, there's a scripture in the Book of Mormon that says, I will go and do the things the Lord command. I know the Lord provides a way. It's 1 Nephi 3:7. It's a long time. It's been a long time since I read it. But basically, like, if God gives you a commandment, there's a way to complete it. And so he said, since God gave us a goal to have 1 baptism per week, there is a way to complete it. So find it.
Okay.
And so then what happened was, as my mission, instead of becoming a quest to better the lives of the people around me and to grow and to serve others, it became a quest to baptize as many people as possible. which I openly and vehemently disagreed with my mission president on. And people would be like, Elder, ¿tienes fe que va a tener un bautismo esta semana? Like, do you have faith that you're going to have a baptism this week? And I was like, no. And they'd be like, what? They're like, but it's commanded of us. And I was like, cool. Que bueno.
Que bueno.
Like, I'd be like, lo voy a hacer lo que quiero. Like, I'm going to do what I want. Or like, I hate saying like brag. I had more baptisms than people in my group, and I was very openly anti this. I was like, I'm going to baptize people when they're ready. I'm going to baptize people because they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to baptize people because that was their decision, not for me to complete some goal some guy 300 miles away set for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was something that I had a really hard time processing on my mission. And a lot of my other friends' missions were like, oh no, like our whole thing like was like, just be a good ambassador to Jesus Christ and like do service. We weren't allowed to give service projects in my mission. We had a very restrictive mission in terms of like, we could only open letters from home on our, what's called our preparation day on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the mail came on Tuesday, it's supposed to sit on our desk for 7 days. And he goes, well, we don't want you being distracted. I was like, that unopened letter is way more distracting than an opened letter. Mm-hmm. So we just had a very strict mission, and I didn't agree with a lot of what my mission president had to do, and that contributed to why I was so miserable, because I was like, I thought my goal was to like help improve people's lives, and now I'm just trying to find someone who got all the lessons and has been to church twice, because that's the minimum number of church attendance to baptize someone. So then now I'm like in this quest of like, oh, you've been to church twice in last year? We can baptize you. And it just became like I felt like we were prioritizing the wrong thing. And like it was part of the reason why my mission was so miserable. Most missions are like that. So if you meet most missionaries like walking across the street, they don't have in the back of their mind like, is this the person I will baptize this week? Yeah. My mission was very unique in that field in terms of like there are some missions where they baptize a lot, where like it just ends up they baptizing one person a week because they have so many people interested in the church in their neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But like being told everyone has to baptize one person this week is insane to me, because no one was doing it in my mission. Yeah. Even with the commandment. But then like when someone baptized like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, they're like, see, it's possible. We're like, okay, but that doesn't, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's going to happen to every single person. Like, they're like, yeah, but it's the wanting to that matters. I was like, I'm not going to kill myself so that this man who's on a power trip can feel good. Like, that's not why I came out here. So I was really disillusioned with my mission. I was really disappointed in it. And like my brothers and like other family members who went on missions, like I had more baptisms when I would write home, like, oh, I baptized this guy, I baptized this girl, I baptized this couple. They're like, wow, you must have had so success. So was it great? I was like, oh, in my mission president never made me feel like I was successful.
Oh, damn.
Even though I baptized over 30 something people in my 2 years there, I never felt successful, just because it was, oh, but I didn't baptize this week. Oh, but I don't have anyone lined up for next week. It was like, it was never like celebrating what we had. It was always celebrating what we didn't. And that really took a toll on my mental health and was a big reason why I'm like, now I can leave the church, because like for me growing up, the church was perfect. The church makes no mistakes. The church leaders are infallible. The church leaders are led by God. And then I get out here and I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, people are bad people everywhere. People are like egotistical everywhere. And so for me, it was a matter of like going, okay, nope, this idyllic romance. And because like so many people who didn't go on missions were like, but missionary work is the greatest, isn't it? I was like, you've romanticized something you've never done. And what I've realized when I talked to a lot of my friends, like when I came home from a mission, I was like, I was miserable. They're like, I was too. And I was like, oh, I was just very transparent about it. I would write home every week, be like, I hate it here. Like, I'm miserable. And like, my friends would be like, it's an honor to serve the Lord. They just like lied to their parents. And I'm over here being like, I'm not enjoying this experience at all, because I'm just being honest. And because I felt lied to by everyone around me growing up, being like, it's the greatest years. I got to the end of my mission. This is a very sad, traumatic story that you don't have a lot of context for. But in the temple, the Mormon temple, it's considered the holiest. It's a heaven on earth. So there's a room like the Holy of Holies, and it's called the celestial room. It's like where heaven is. It's heaven on earth. So you're dressed in all white, and the whole room is like all white and gold and like very beautiful. And there's these 2 mirrors that face each other. And so when you look into them, it's like looking into eternity. So like there are big mirrors on the side of the room. So every time I would go to the temple and I'd go to the celestial room, I would go with a question, be like, God, help me with this. And there were scriptures in there, and I would always open the scriptures, and whatever verse was always the answer to what I needed. Or at least that's what I told myself. I'd be like, oh, this is what, like.
Oh, so that's not a thing that every Mormon thinks. It's a thing that you.
It was a me thing.
Okay.
I was like, I would go into the temple with a question, and I would go to the celestial room, open the scriptures, and I would read, and I'm like, that's the answer to my question.
Okay.
So at the end of my mission, I was miserable the whole time. And I kept being like, God, why am I here? I don't know why I'm here. Why did I have to do this? I feel like I just wasted 2 years. And I got to my scriptures, and I was like, I was hoping and expecting to have this like moment where like everything's like, this is why, this is what it was all worth it. And I open up my scripture, and in the Book of Mormon, there's a chapter where it just explains the currency exchange rate between the communities of Zarahemla, which is an area in the Book of Mormon. And it was like, and 1 Shem is equal to 10 Antiochs, and 1 Antioch is equal. And like, I literally was like, are you kidding me? I was devastated. I was like, for 2 years, my goal is the currency exchange rate of Alma. What? Like, I just was like, and like, I like tried it again, and it was like some Isaiah passage that I couldn't understand. I was like, and like, I just got so frustrated, and I stood up and I looked in the double mirrors, and I was like, why was I here? And I felt nothing. I felt empty, and it was the most devastating feeling of my life. I was like, are you kidding me? I just felt like I wasted 2 years. I just felt like my whole life has been a lie. Like everyone was like, the mission is the greatest thing ever. And I'm like, I hated it. I was so miserable. And then my favorite sister missionary, Hermana Ruiz, I love her so much. She walked up and she whispered in my ear, Elder, it's finally over. It's finally over. And like, we like laughed, and then she walked away, and I looked in the double mirrors, and I felt crushed, that I was elated that it was over. This experience that's supposed to transform my life, I'm thrilled that it's finally over, because I hated it. And it was so devastating to me, because I'm told this whole life, you're like, basically as a young boy, your whole purpose is to go be a missionary. Like, we have songs in our primary program, like our children's program of the church, that's like, I hope they call me on a mission when I have grown a foot or two. And your whole life, you're told mission, mission, mission. You're supposed to be a missionary. You're supposed to be a missionary. And then once you go home from your mission, you get married in the temple, and like, you have as many babies as you can. And I just remember standing there looking in the double mirrors and just feeling gutted and being like, what the hell? Like, I felt so discouraged and disappointed. And that is a huge reason why I left the church, because I was like, okay, I was lied to. I feel disillusioned. I feel cheated. I feel like robbed. But at the end, then like, you know, when I got home, and since then I've reflected, and I'm actually really glad I went on my mission, because I did grow up. I grew a lot stronger. Like, if I'm able to go out there for 2 years and testify to something that I don't actually believe in, imagine what I do with my life if I'm passionate about something. So I learned a lot of things about myself. I learned a foreign language. I learned a new culture. Like, there's so many things, and like, there's still people from my mission that I still stay in contact with. And so like, great things have come from it, but it was a very demoralizing experience, and I did hate it. But so if you see a Mormon missionary, please, for the love of God, be nice to them. You have no idea who is experiencing an existential crisis at 19 years old. You just be nice to them. I always stop and go, hi, elders. Hi, sisters. How's it going? Where are you from? And like, I always try and be nice to them. They're like, oh, are you going to come to church? I'm like, I left 10 years ago, but nice seeing you. Like, I just be nice to them, because some of them are literally going through their personal hell. Yeah.
Wow. I saw 2 Mormon missionaries in the F train stop on Delancey, Essex, which, if anybody's not familiar, it's where everything bad happens in New York. It's like a homeless person on every bench. Someone's always screaming. There's always someone playing music, and it's not good. And I saw these two it almost seemed like they were playing two Mormon missionaries. How, you know what I mean? Like straight from the play, which is, where I've gotten most of my information.
Which, to be fair, everything they say about Mormonism is true in the musical. Like they did their research. It's not offensive to Mormons. It's offensive to Ugandans.
Yeah.
The show is insanely racist and very problematic. But it is accurate on everything it says about Mormons. So any Mormon who goes, wow, this musical is so offensive, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's racist because the whole song, I Believe, are actual things Mormons believe. So like, yeah.
The two guys, it was interesting because there was two of them and one guy was sort of like you could see which guy was like, I have to do this, and which guy was like, I love doing this.
Yep.
And the latter was like literally going up to every mean New Yorker and just be like, I have this book, you might be interested. And now what you're saying I'm like, maybe he was putting on like such a brave face.
Oh, I tried so hard. I would talk to everyone and I just be like so personable and I'm doing everything, Lord, bless me, make me straight. And then at the end you're like, oh, okay, thanks.
Now I'm curious because I watched this guy for like 10 minutes until the train came and literally no one had a response that wasn't like, please go away from me. He didn't come up to me, but I would have done the same thing, but what is the type of, because you said you baptized people all the time. So what was that like? Was it just a numbers game?
Well, no, I tried to make it not a numbers game because I was very anti just baptize people to baptize people. So I baptized this mother's son and the son actually went on a mission shortly after because he was like 20 or something. I baptized this couple and then a few months later the dad baptized his own son when his son turned 8. I baptized I hate saying real people as if the other people who were baptized weren't real.
Yeah.
But I baptized people who I tried to baptize people who stayed Mormon. And there was this lovely old woman in this really small town that I baptized her and then she just became friends with all the other old ladies at church. And I left the area and a year later someone was like, oh yeah, the 4 ladies of that town have a knitting group. And she still went to church every Sunday. She stayed Mormon. You have lessons you have to teach them and then they have a questionnaire and answer basically do you repent of all your sins? Do you believe in God? Do you believe this church is true? And then once you go through the questionnaire, then you go through the act of baptism, and then you become an active Mormon. And in the Mormon church, there are what's called callings. So you have jobs. So Sunday school teacher or chorister, you lead the music or whatever. And so every Mormon has a calling at church. And so the whole point of once you get them baptized is find a calling that suits their skills and put them to work and make them stay active and feel involved. And the church has soccer fields and especially in Uruguay, that was a big thing as people would come out and we would do soccer nights and all the kids in the neighborhood would come and play soccer. And we were trying to use that as a recruiting tool, basically hey, on Sunday, we do a cool thing inside where we get dressed up and sit quietly. You running around screaming? Okay, let's do the exact opposite 24 hours from now. It's what we were trying to do. So I tried to baptize people who were I hate saying this, legit. There were a few people that were oh, they're 10 years old. Their parents were raised Mormon, but now they're not. But their parents are we want them baptized, culturally. Especially in South America, very Christian, a lot of Catholics. And they're our kid never got baptized. So would you baptize him? And so yeah, that counted. But I never really liked that because the kids would never stay. The kids would never stick around if the parents weren't going to church. If it was just the kid going to church, you're okay, what's the point? In a month from now, the kid's not going to come to church anymore. So yeah, I tried to baptize actual people, families. One time, we met this lady who hadn't been to church in 15 years. She had 2 daughters and we baptized her 2 daughters and she started going to church again. And then a few months later, we baptized her boyfriend and the whole family would start going to church together. That's the type of people that I wanted to teach and that I wanted to baptize. But my whole mission, I couldn't really celebrate those successes because I was being told to focus on the weeks I have no baptisms lined up. And so that was the hard part where it's like, I couldn't even like appreciate and enjoy like the people's lives that I improved because I was being told to focus on the things I didn't have done. Like I didn't have a baptism lined up those weeks. So it was hard to like the weeks that I did have a baptism, I was like, okay, great. No one's going to angrily call me and be like, why didn't you baptize this week? And so, yeah. So like, it was hard to like even enjoy when I was successful because I was like, oh, great.
It's interesting to me too, because it seems like that negativity, they don't even fully appreciate that you're taking 2 years out of your life.
It's because we're all expected to.
Because everybody does.
So it's not a sacrifice, it's an expectation. They literally, I was not treated as someone who like put their life on hold for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was treated as someone who's like, you had to do this. And they kept being like, oh, we thank you for your service. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm serving anyone. I feel like I'm a cog in a machine.
Yeah. Was part of it too is because, and this could be my...
we didn't talk about my sleep habits. Is that what this podcast is about?
We did, but we have 6 minutes left.
My gosh, I'm just... I'm realizing now, I'm like, you said this was a podcast about my sleep schedule. And we've just been talking about how I'm Mormon.
Well, I haven't had... I just haven't had a gay ex-Mormon who was raised by deaf parents on the podcast yet. And we didn't get into that.
We haven't even gotten to my parents.
But let's thank you for helping me pivot. Are you a morning or a night person?
Night person. I also have a horrendous sleep schedule. I'm getting better.
You're a comedian.
Yeah, but even like when I don't have shows, I like go to bed at like 5 a.m. It's not good.
Yeah.
Like I've woken up before 10 a.m. for a week straight, and I'm very proud of myself.
Hell yeah. Okay, but naturally, is it that like you wake up at night, like the darkness calls to you?
No. It's just like, I don't know, I just fall into this rut of like, being lethargic. And so like it starts off with, sleeping in, and then as you sleep in, you're not tired until later. And then it just like morphs into this like thing where it's like, oh, the sun is rising, I should go to bed.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, especially in the summer where it's like the sun starts rising like before 6. You're like, oh, it's getting light out, I should go to sleep. But I'm getting better. It's also hard because like as a comedian, like, sometimes I get home at like midnight 1, and then like I wind down from like the rush, and then it's like 2 or 3 o'clock, and then you're like, okay, do I go fall asleep now? So definitely a night person.
Yeah, I feel that way when you have a show and it's really good.
Well, especially when it's good.
You have that. Yeah, you know what's nice about the bad shows is that you have no problem falling asleep.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, oh, could this day be over? And just like crash. Like I when I have a bad show, I'm like, oh, I'm sleeping well tonight. Like, my body's like, forget this.
Okay, now that leads into my next question. Do you have a morning or afternoon routine, depending on what time you wake up?
Okay, since I've been doing better, I wake up, I make a few eggs. I'm trying to eat healthier, so I make a few eggs, have some juice, toast, maybe some fruit, depending on whether I have peaches or watermelons.
Chocolate
or something.
drink?
No chocolate drink. Okay. I'm trying to be healthier. And then I try and like listen to a podcast about Survivor, because I'm a diehard super fan, or Big Brother. Big Brother season just ended. Thank God, it was the worst season I've watched.
So Ryan's gonna drop his socials at the end, but if you do DM him about Survivor, that's the best way. That's the best way to get a response. I have
season 45's buff on me as a neck scarf wherever I need to go. So, and then I go on my walk, and I go on a walk usually for like 2 to 3 hours. Like I'll walk through, because I live by Prospect Park, that I'll walk, stop, read a book, or do some Sudoku, make a phone call or something. And then sometimes I'll walk over to the Barnes and Noble on the in Park Slope, and then either buy a new book or a new puzzle, or just like go to the bathroom and then meander back. I try and stay outside and like be moving for a couple hours, get some fresh air, get me out of my apartment. And then I come home in the afternoon, and then if I have a show, then I figure out my schedule accordingly. And if I don't, I just get back into sweatpants. And right now I'm working on a national parks puzzle, and I'm loving it. Or like I have like brain teaser puzzles because I'm preparing to go on Survivor. One day they're gonna call me. It hasn't happened yet, but
if you work for Survivor, just
if you're a casting producer, call me up. So I work on puzzles all the time, and just writing jokes. I'm writing several different musicals. I'm writing one about Pluto, because I found this book that I loved, and it was the history of how Pluto stopped being a planet, and I was fascinated by the book. That I was like, this should be a musical. So I work on that throughout the day. But yeah, my morning routine is usually wake up, eggs, walk.
Perfect. I think that is, to have any sort of routine is good.
I'm trying to, because it would be like 11:30, and I'm like, oh God, do I eat lunch now? Like,
for me, it's structure. If I don't have structure, I kind of go a little loopy in a negative way.
oh, absolutely. No. Especially when I was on tour a lot this fall doing a bunch of college shows. So I was in and out all the time, and I was never able to get some sort of routine. Like I'd be back and I'd just be so tired. Then I'd only be home for 2 or 3 days. And then I'd be back on the road for 5 more. And like, so like, it was just like, ugh, I never got like a routine for like 2 solid months. It was awful. And now I'm like trying to like get into this routine.
Dude, being on the road, it's like, I've only done it a few times, but I remember one day I had McDonald's twice in one day.
That's
because it was the only thing like available to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I feel awful.
Yeah, you gotta
and dehydrated, because I'm always drinking water. I mean, our list people that watch know that I drink water constantly, and if my pee is dark, that means I'm having a bad day.
Yeah, no, I drink a lot of water too. I drink a lot of water.
We're gonna drink some water after this. I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're hydro homies.
Hydro homos.
You heard it here, folks. So if people want to DM you, tell them or tell you about, I'm trying to link it into the last thing we said. If people want to send you packages of water, how do they DM you and ask for your address?
On Instagram and TikTok, I'm at Erwin, RYERWIN. And then on all other socials, I'm Ryan Erwin Comedy, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm not. No. I'm a devout trans ally, but I will dead name the app of a man who will not honor trans people. I will dead name his app.
Hell yeah, dude.
But I do support trans people, but that's the only thing I'll dead name.
Hell yeah. Okay, well, if you support trans people or either way want to follow Ryan, please do that. He's very funny. If you have a chance to see him live, he is hilarious. We'll definitely have you back. We just scratched the surface.
We did. We didn't even talk about my parents.
We didn't, but we will. And then we might even talk more about your sleep routine next time.
Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for joining. Follow Ryan on everything. And remember, folks, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm just playing Night Owls. You know I love you.